Take just a couple of minutes here and talk. I invited a couple politicians to show up and talk tonight about cannabis and about their future elections. They elected not to come, so my apologies, but I think it worked out better for everybody. So it does give me a chance to talk about one thing. And you know, the AJC says that 70 to 80% of Georgians want cannabis legalized. And that's a pretty good number. That means most of us here want that done. But the problem is there's about 20% that don't understand what the benefits of this plant could do as far as our ecology. So meaning not about getting high or any of that other stuff or the cannabinoids that use for healthy products like CBD or CBG or CBC or any of the other ones. But I'm talking about fiber, renewable fibers. The hemp fibers, and I just toured a hemp wood factory in Kentucky. Very cool place, literally using completely renewable fibers, producing some of the most beautiful wood surfaces that you've seen. You can look at them on my website, grassrootsassociation.org, or on the Facebook pages. But hemp wood as a renewable fiber is much less problem on our environment even than bamboo is. So it is a very, again, attractive fiber when it's done that way, and it is very good as far as a low-cost alternative to hardwoods. A lot of people talk about hardwoods and they say, okay, we grow hardwoods because of the fiber that it produces. 1 acre of hardwood would grow in about 20 years' time. A hemp crop can grow once or twice a year and will produce as much as 24 times more fiber than the hardwood would produce. So if you extrapolate how much wood you're talking about producing through hemp fibers, right, which is really just the cannabis plant, it's unbelievable almost. So it's very important as far as we talk about hemp and why I said that 80% want it because they want adult use or medical use. The rest of the people really need to understand one thing. Everyone here would agree that we want our environment to be as good as it can be. And cannabis plant is a great renewable resource in that sense as well, because it rejuvenates the soil because of its deep root system. Actually helps to turn over the soil much different than single crops, or as we call it, monocropping does. We're a big farming culture here, agriculture in the state. It's our number one crop. It's our number one source of revenue is the agriculture. So it's a big deal for us. So we have many, many mega farms out there, and you can see them as you drive down the street. The problem is with a single crop a year, what happens is you extract those specific minerals out of the soil each time. So what we have to do is bring in chemicals, often from unfriendly countries, like nitrogen and other stuff to kind of regenerate the soil. But if we change the laws on cannabis, we literally could use this as an intermediary crop, and it would actually start to regenerate that soil naturally. And then all the byproducts, the fibers and things, we could start making clothes out of. We could start making hemp wood out of. We could even turn it into fuel for cars. So those things that we talk about, you know, the idea of what you could do in the future, actually is a reality once we realize that it's time to create sensible cannabis legislation. And as I talk about whole plant, full plant legalization, because then not only do the medical people get it, the adult use people get it, the hemp people get it, but we also are able to then start to rebuild our soil. And that's important to everyone. Like I said, there's no one that doesn't want a clean environment. And again, when we look at that piece of it, it really does ring true to everybody. So I think once we stop the idea of saying, oh, it's the Bible Belt, can't do it here, or we say, you know, it's the devil's weed, none of those things are true. The cannabis plant, it grows and the government says at a certain level, it's called hemp. But if a certain level changes, one chemical changes in there, they say that becomes marijuana and it's totally illegal. That's the reason no farmers can bring this in and use this crop in a productive way, because they're worried about problems with the laws. So instead of saying we'll continue to legislate people away from smoking pot, all we've managed to do, by the way, they haven't stopped smoking pot, if you didn't notice. But what we managed to do is take every benefit the plant offers and put it on the shelf to say we're going to legislate people out of it. It didn't work. So let's stop doing that. That's obviously the definition of insanity, right? Let's stop making more bad legislation, write good legislation. And by the way, I did write good legislation. If you have your phones, you can Google the Georgia Cannabis Freedom Act. It'll take you to my website, but it's also on Google and a lot of information about what it is. So a different approach, instead of saying just, I want it done, I came up with a plan to say, I will write the correct legislation that embraces this plan for all of its uses. So instead of creating just one group and saying, oh, I just want it for medical, well, in a way, that's pretty selfish, right? You know, the same thing if saying just adult use, that's kind of selfish as well. We really need to just stop and say, look, this plan has been around for thousands of years. It's mentioned in the Bible multiple times. So whether you're religious or not, there's a reason to understand and use this plan wholly. So please join me in voting and forcing our legislators to support sensible cannabis legislation. Hey, with that, I don't know if we can